Hello, fantastic humans. Welcome back to INTR 101. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we're going to go through sort of a tour of college resources, so campus resources available to you. And the reason is that using your campus resources is both responsible and professional. So we're going to kind of go through all of the major ones on campus. There's tons and tons of resources that I won't be able to mention in this presentation. So if you have any questions, if you're like, hey, does this other thing exist? Please just reach out to me and I will help you find any and all information on those different resources. And just as a side note, this is my friend's dog, Annie. She's adorable and I use her for memes. So with that, the resources that we're going to talk about today are Tutoring, SiPass, the Writing Center, Advising Career Services, Office of Multicultural Affairs, CDAR, the Women's Center, Vandal Health Ed, Counseling and Testing, Center for Volunteerism, Department of Student Involvement, LGBTQ Office, BEAMS, and Student Health. So, long list, but hopefully one of these resources will be very helpful for you. And if you haven't accessed any of them before, I recommend reaching out. So first, let's talk about tutoring. Our tutoring supports mostly 100 and 200 level courses in subjects like biology, math, chemistry, physics, engineering, poli-sci, ABS, business, stats, econ, accounting, sociology, and architecture. So we have both drop-in and by appointment tutoring available to folks. So if you look at the drop-in schedule and you realize, oh, there isn't really a time that works for me, go ahead and click on make an appointment, and you can schedule a time that works for you to meet with a tutor. So one of the things that I want to remind folks about is tutoring is not just for folks who are struggling in a class. Tutoring is a really amazing resource to access at any point because it can help you build that deeper understanding of material. Additionally, being a tutor is a really great job. So if you're doing well in one of your classes and you think you would be a really great candidate for tutoring, you can go ahead onto the tutoring page on UIdaho's website and click apply to be a tutor. So if you're looking for the tutoring hours, just search tutoring on U of I's page. Now let's talk about SiPass. So SiPass is supplemental instruction, and they are peer-assisted study sessions. So they provide guided study sessions for historically difficult courses. And what that means is we look at the courses that are taught at the University of Idaho, and we look for the ones that have really high DFW rates, which means people either drop from it, fail the course, or withdraw from the course. And we go in and we try and support those courses because clearly folks are struggling in them and we want to make sure that they get as much support as they can. So what we do is we find a student who did really well in the course previously, and we have them sit through the course again so that they understand where the class is and when. And then they offer 3 study sessions every week for students. And these are different than tutoring. So study sessions aren't there to, like help you solve the homework problems. They're there to help you dive really deep into the material and make sure that you understand the core concepts, everything that's going on there. So one of our most highly attended SiPass sessions tend to be the pre-exam study sessions. So if you've never been to SiPass before, I really recommend checking out one of those as a nice sort of way to get into it. These are the courses that we are currently supporting this semester. So we don't support as many courses with SiPass as we do with tutoring. And that again is just due to, we look for the ones that are historically challenging for folks. Now, pre-fall break, we are offering sessions both in person and online for every course, but after fall break, we'll be going purely online for SiPass. But they're still really awesome. Our SiPass leaders are wonderful. I have the chance to work with them a lot, and it's been really great to see all of the hard work that they put into building these study sessions for the classes they support. Now let's talk about the Writing Center. So they provide one-on-one writing help, and it's fully online this semester. But what's really cool is that the Writing Center has both synchronous and asynchronous options. So you can meet with a writing tutor one-on-one in a Zoom meeting in real time and discuss your paper and your project. Or you can submit your project or paper to a writing tutor. They'll look at it and send it back to you within a day or two. So if your schedule's really packed and you just do not have the time to set aside for like an hour-long meeting, you might want to try the asynchronous option. Now, a lot of folks think that the Writing Center is only there for like editing your papers, but they can actually help you with every step of the process. So one of the most useful things to do is to take in your writing assignment, and before you even get started on it, go into the Writing Center. They can help you organize, outline, brainstorm all of the different things that might go into your paper. They can also help you to understand the writing prompts better. So let's say you're in English 101 or 102. The Writing Center works closely with those classes and is aware of all the assignments that they have, so they can help students better understand the expectations for those different essays. The Writing Center can also help with things like citations, trying to help you kind of find some good places to look for sources, those sorts of things. All in all, they're an amazing resource on campus. I use them as an undergrad, and they really helped me improve my writing because it wasn't that great to start with. So check out the Writing Center. Again, if you just search Writing Center on U of I's website or email writingcenter@uidaho.edu, you'll be able to get some help. Now, advising. Oftentimes, we think of advising as just those folks that help you put together your course calendar, but they do so much more than that. So if you have any questions about, like how your program can be structured in a way that makes more sense to you, or how can I substitute classes to make more sense, advising is your go-to place. They can also help get you connected with different resources on campus. So if you don't know where to start, speaking with your advisor is a really good place to go. I went to my advisor a lot when I was an undergrad because I changed my major a few times. And I also needed some help petitioning for classes and all of those sorts of things. And it's stuff that's hard to do on your own. So I recommend, if you ever have questions, connect with your advisor. They're an amazing person. Now, for first-year students, you generally have a professional advisor that you meet with. These are people who it's their only job is to advise. Once you get into your later years in your program, you tend to be partnered with a faculty advisor. And what's great about a faculty advisor is they have more knowledge about the field that you're learning about. So you can ask them questions, related to like job searches, what things are really good to know for the field, all of that sort of stuff. One of the things that's important to remember is if you want to, you can change your faculty advisor. So I did this. The faculty advisor that I originally had for physics just wasn't a great fit. He didn't study the things that I was super interested in and just didn't quite vibe with him really well. So I found a different faculty member that I got along really well with and whose work I really enjoyed, and I changed my advisor to him. So if you are interested in changing your advisor, reach out to advising@uidaho.edu or email me and I can help you figure out that process as well. Now, career services is one of the absolute most useful folks on campus. I love career services. They have helped me get a couple different jobs. They helped me write my grad school materials. They're just a really amazing service on campus. So everyone is assigned a career advisor. And if you log on to Vandal, you'll be able to see who that is. So we have a career advisor for each college. And what's great about that is they kind of understand the ins and outs of the job market related to that field. And they can meet with you for not just like, applying to jobs or getting your resume together. They can also help you figure out what careers you might be interested in. So they offer career advising, where like, let's say you really like a field, but you have no idea what jobs might be available in it. You can set up an appointment with a career advisor and kind of explore those different options, talk about what interests you, what passions you have, and see how that could play into your future job. So right now, these services are available partially online and in person, but after fall break, when everything else goes online, career services will also be fully online. I also think that career services is really great for getting prepared for graduate school. So like I mentioned, they help me out with that. So if you're thinking about those sorts of things, check out Career Services, reach out to them as well. And then probably one of the coolest things about Career Services is that even after you graduate, you can still use their services for free. So they have sort of a once a Vandal, always a Vandal pledge. And that means, let's say you graduate, you have a job, and 10 years later, you decide you want to switch careers. You can still go to Career Services and get some help figuring out how to do that, which is really amazing. I have some friends who have graduated, and as they were looking for new jobs, they were able to connect with their alumni career advisor and still get the support that they needed. So the next couple bit of resources are going to be ones that maybe focus less on like things that are happening in your current classes and more general support for you overall. So the first is the Center for Disability Access and Resources, which we call on campus CDAR. And CDAR's main job is to provide accommodations and support for students who need them. One thing that I like to tell students is that accommodations are actually very common. I work with tons of students who have them, and there's nothing to be ashamed about if you need an accommodation. So some of the most common ones that they provide are things like extra time to take an exam, a quieter place to take an exam, captioning and note-taking for students that might have concerns when it comes to like typing and comprehension or, you know, like hearing loss or anything like that. So CDAR provides tons and tons of ways to make sure that students can be successful in their courses. So if you're interested in connecting with CDAR, if you think that you might need some extra support like that, just search CDAR and they have an application that you click on, you fill out, and you get set up to meet with one of the CDAR folks. Everyone in their office is super friendly. I really enjoy working with CDAR. They've been a really great resource to academic coaching on campus as well. And one other cool thing about CDAR is if you're looking for a job, they often hire note takers. So like I mentioned, one of the things that they provide for students is someone to take notes for them if there's a concern about kind of comprehension while trying to pay attention in class. So what a note taker does is they just go into the course, sit there and take really good notes and then send them off to the student who needs them after class. It's really awesome, especially if you're already in one of the courses that they need a note taker for. You basically just get paid to take good notes. So I worked with a lot of students who have done note taking as a nice way to get a little extra cash. They've combined it with some other jobs to really help fit that financial need. So if you're interested, again, you can reach out to CDAR at uidaho.edu. I believe their note taker application is also online. All right, let's talk about the Office of Multicultural Affairs, or OMA. OMA sponsors all sorts of cultural events across campus. They offer critical training for faculty, staff, and students as well. So I've taken a lot of trainings through OMA. They are by far some of the most interesting and amazing trainings. I really enjoy their office and everyone who works there. They're also available to help advocate for students that are facing adversity on campus. So if you run into a really difficult situation that involves bias or anything like that, and you don't know where to start, I recommend reaching out to the Office of Multicultural Affairs. And OMA helps to create, just in general, a vibrant and more connected campus community. So they have programs for students to get involved and kind of build community. They offer some really cool cultural events, like I mentioned. So right now it's a little hard with the pandemic, but in normal years, they offer like India night, Nepal night, Africa night, all of these really amazing showcases of other cultures. So if you'd like to learn more, again, search OMA on U of I's website, and you can get connected with Jessie or Corinne or any of the amazing people in the office. So the Women's Center is also a really great place on campus. I love them. I went to the Women's Center frequently when I was an undergraduate because it's just a nice and welcoming place to hang out. So it says Women's Center, but it's a place for all students. They promote and advocate for gender equality on campus and in the broader Moscow community. So they also sponsor events across campus and in Moscow as well. So they usually have a women's film festival, the vagina monologues, the F Word Live Poetry Slam, a lot of different events that are really fun and ways to get connected with other folks. Another important thing to keep in mind is that the staff at the Women's Center are semi-confidential reporters. So you may have heard this term before, but I am a confidential reporter. So if you came to me and you told me about a really difficult situation where there's a concern for your safety, I have to take that information and report it to the university. It doesn't get you in trouble or anything like that. It's just if we hear about something concerning, we report it. The Women's Center is semi-confidential, meaning they still have to report it, but they don't necessarily have to report your name. They just have to report general numbers and statistics about different things that are going on. So the staff at the Women's Center is a really great place to start if you're experiencing any sort of major concerns and you just don't know where to go, but you want a really supportive person to listen to. I recommend checking in, connecting with the folks that work there. Okay, so the next office, the LGBTQA office. Again, just like OMA and the Women's Center, they sponsor many events across campus. So some of them are the National Coming Out Carnival, queer history, trans history, all sorts of different things, the Day of Silence, really just an amazing office and a space that creates a lot of community for a lot of students here. And they ensure that campus remains an open and welcoming place for all people. So one of the other really amazing things that the LGBTQA office does is they provide support for students who are dealing with difficult situations surrounding their sexual or gender identity. So right now, they offer a lot of support for students who are maybe going home for fall break or winter break to situations, to environments that aren't mentally as healthy for them. They can provide some community and support for those students during this time. If you have any questions, you can contact the LGBTQ office at uidaho.edu. Julia is the person who runs the office. She's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend connecting with them and the other students who are part of the program. Alrighty, so let's jump into Vandal Health Ed. Now, we've already heard from Vandal Health Ed once this semester. They were the office that gave the stress management presentation and the worksheet that went along with it. So Vandal Health Ed provides workshops and trainings for faculty, staff, and students. They have things like stress management, dealing with stressful situations, all of those sort of mental health support ones. They provide a training called QPR, which helps with suicide prevention. They sponsor the Green Dot program and all sorts of sexual health programs across campus. So they connect students with the campus and community resources as well. So if you're looking for maybe a health resource that the university doesn't provide, you can connect with Vandal Health Ed to get some more info. They also offer internship and job opportunities for students. So I know that their student representatives do a lot of the trainings themselves. They're really awesome. It's a great thing if you're interested in sort of a public health type of career. Connecting with Vandal Health Ed is a really great place to start. So the Center for Volunteerism and Social Action is one office to get involved with if you're interested in any of those things. So they organize and run the Vandal Food Pantry. They sponsor events centered around social action and community involvement. This year, they helped a lot with voter registration and rides to and from the polls for different elections. One of the big things that they do normally is alternative service breaks, which is where you take, either a weekend or spring break or fall break or Christmas break and go on a trip to provide volunteer work for all sorts of different organizations. I've gone on a couple of those. It's a really fantastic way to get involved in a new community, to volunteer and do all of those things, but to also travel a little bit outside of the state or even the country. So in normal years, winter ASB trips go abroad, and it's a really cool way for you to see the world, do some good, and at a cost that's a lot lower than if you were trying to travel by yourself. So the Center for Volunteerism and Social Action is on the 3rd floor of the iSub. It's right next to the ASUI Student Lounge, or student space. So I recommend checking them out if you're interested in any sort of volunteer work. Next is the Department of Student Involvement. So this is the one-stop place to learn about clubs and other student organizations, and their focus is on building community across campus. So one thing that I use their website for all the time is if you're interested in what sort of clubs are available, you can log on and see a full list of clubs on campus and get connected with folks in different interest groups that you're also interested in. So there's all sorts of like club sports and academic clubs, but there's also things like video game clubs and board game clubs and chess and all of these different things. So if there's something that you're passionate about, you'll probably be able to find a club for it. Or you can start one and get it listed on the University of Idaho's website as well. All right, so a few more resources that are sort of like all-encompassing, really great things for students to know. And one is BEAMS, so Better Education About Money for Students. And this is an office within the financial aid office that provides advice to students around the subject of finances. So you can schedule a one-on-one appointment with BEAMS staff and connect with them to talk about things like accountability, cash management, managing debt, savings accounts, spending plans, student loan management, better understanding credit, all of these different things that there's really not a class for, so BEAMS is going to be your person to go talk to. So if you've ever had questions about financial education, I highly recommend connecting with BEAMS. They're a really wonderful office, super kind, super helpful to all of the students here. Next is one of my favorite resources, which is the Counseling and Testing Center. So they provide free counseling services to students. It's currently being operated all over Zoom this semester through like a telehealth service. And they also can provide psychiatric testing for students. Now, this service isn't free, but it's generally at a lower cost than other places. I utilized the CTC a lot when I was an undergraduate and a graduate student. I had a lot of stress and anxiety, and I needed some support with that, and counseling was the perfect thing for me. It's also really amazing that it is free, because when you leave the university, when you get out into the quote unquote real world, counseling costs a lot of money. So if you have an opportunity to get that service free, I highly recommend that you take advantage of it. There is individual counseling as well as group counseling. So, you know, if those are things that you're interested in, I recommend checking them out. There's also an emergency hotline. So if you're ever in a crisis, you can call the CTC and get support right away. This is the Counseling and Testing Center. So one of the other things that they provide is a variety of national testing. So things like the GRE or the ALEX or other placement exams like that, they also handle that service for you. So if you're a senior and you're looking at going off to grad school soon, you'll most likely take the GRE on campus at the Counseling and Testing Center. Alrighty. And the next thing that we're going to talk about, and I believe this is the last one that I have, is the Vandal Health Clinic. So it's the main healthcare clinic for students. Walk-ins and appointments are accepted. They generally prefer appointments just so that they don't have a ton of people waiting in the lobby all the time. This service works through Moscow Family Medicine. So if you have any insurance questions, reach out to them and just know that like they're connected with that broader network of providers. And they do work with a variety of insurance providers. So it's not just a SHIP or student health insurance program. They do work with other insurers as well. If you need a flu shot or anything like that, the Vandal Health Clinic is going to be the place to go for those things. Alrighty, so what we're going to do really quick is jump over to BB Learn and talk a little bit about the deliverable for this week. So student support, it's kind of hard to like test you or have you don't know, like do an assignment on different support services. Oh no, I forgot to make the folder visible. Anyway, so whoops, mistake on my part. But what the assignment is for this specific lecture is I want you to tell me about services that you've engaged with on campus, services that you're interested in engaging with. And then the final question is, what is it about accessing support on campus that's been difficult for you? And I want you to be really honest with me, because part of my job is also finding out what barriers students run into when they're trying to access support on U of I's campus. So if I have that information, I can hopefully pass it on to the people who run those offices, and then we can make the experience better for you and for all future students as well. So be real with me. I won't be offended if you're like, academic coaching is the hardest thing ever to get an appointment with. Like, awesome, I want to know that so I can fix it. Or if, you know, maybe there's a concern that you have with one of the other resources, I can pass on that information anonymously so that hopefully any sort of problems get resolved. But with that, I hope you all have an absolutely lovely day. I know it's snowing right now, so I hope you're staying warm and dry, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.